welcome to Massive Beers, the echoey version, because we're in the old shed. And yeah, my name's Matt. We do beer things here. More often than not, when I say that, a review follows, and that's going to be the case here. But there's a little bit of a tie-in to a podcast. It is early October. Actually, it's the second of October. A week removed from Beer Tube Palooza, which we had this year, not in my farm here, but in Albany, New York. You should see all the videos incoming shortly. And, when I go on trips like this, when I go to different areas, the first thing that pops in my mind is actually do podcasts. So I scheduled 2 podcasts on my trip. One on my way up, did a Plan B Brewing with Evan and Emily Watson. That was quite wonderful. I'm sure we'll review some of their beers too and talk about it. But on Sunday, the day after Beer Tube Palooza, I actually went up and hung out with Steve from Fidens. Hung out, did a podcast, super cool, good dude. The only bummer is recorded the podcast. I really wanted to get it out in a couple days because this was his anniversary weekend, the weekend after Beer Tube Palooza, and I kind of wanted to get it up, but I couldn't. Just time, kid, whatever, be coming next week. I talk about that stuff in the podcast, and while I was there, he's like, take some beers, and he gave me some of the anniversary beers. This one had me a little bit all kind of hot and bothered. We actually drank this during the podcast we did. This is actually a collaboration between Fidens and the Seed. This is Germination Italian style pills. It's actually a really cool beer in a couple different ways of Italian pills. Very tasty stuff. We dig them. Seed, a very popular brewery down here in Jersey, just barely outside Atlantic City, I believe. And it's the first Pilsner they made at Fidens. Yeah, so you're talking about Italian pills, 5.4%. What else we got? Italian pills, basically. Hopped up pills. Fidens Brew could be Albany, New York. They're barely on the edge of Albany, I think. And that's pretty much it. There's no canning on date, but this got released, I think, a day or 2 ago. But it obviously got canned prior. I picked this up on that Sunday when, like I said, drank it with Steve. And I figured I'd review it. Out here in the shed, about to do some work. Figured I'd do a review. Let's have at it. Got my Willie Beecher. Got a little football going on over there. So I've had this before, obviously. But I haven't had it since I actually sat down with Steve. So it was basically almost a week, almost an hour since I've had this. We did an interview at 11 a.m. So 11:30 I drank this is around 2 o'clock. So next week. So likewise, this is cool. A little flower. A little Germination pod down here. What are you going to do? I like it. Beer-wise, that looks like Pilsner, my friends. You're talking about a brewery that I believe this is their first foray. Actually, I know because we talked about it. In the Pilsner. Super crisp, super clean. Got this soft little snow globy kind of carbonation. I don't know if you guys can pick that up. Using the forward-facing camera on my iPhone. Nice little soft little head on it. Looks like the crispy boy it should be. Give it a little whirl down here in case I spill anything. I didn't. Ooh, I'm very impressed with myself. Let's get a nose in the sucker. Big huff. Yeah, no, it has this really nice soft bitterness to it. Perception of bitterness, obviously. Can't smell bitterness and sweetness, but you get this perception. A nice, soft, kind of saucy, kind of old school kind of hoppiness. Very crackery kind of Pilsner malt thing. Nothing over the top too crazy. Malt-wise, not that you expect it with a Pilsner. And it just really comes off as a crusher. Nothing negative here. You're not getting any diacetyl, DMS, any of the things that you could come to expect, especially from a brewery's first foray into Pilsner. None of that. Super crisp, super clean. We're diving in. Cheers, y'all. Ooh. Okay, I don't remember that. That's tasty. Man, that's really tasty. It has a lemoniness to it that I don't remember getting. When I sat down and talked to Steve, maybe I was preoccupied with the podcast. Maybe my palate was absolutely destroyed from Beer Dude Palooza. But there's this soft little lemon characteristic that I would attribute to actually a combination of like yeast and, not that you get like a lemony thing from lager yeast, but it's almost like, when I think of seed, I think of mixed culture, I think of like stuff like that. It's almost like that kind of thing, where you're getting like a Brett C kind of lemony thing. It's not heavy, it's not super aggressive, but it's definitely there for me. There's this like citrus lemony thing that's very, very gentle, but adds this cool little kind of like to the actual beer. I mean, the malt base here is really fun because it is not devoid of maltiness. A lot of times American breweries, when they try to make like a super crispy boy, they use just such a kind of like malt, what's the word I'm looking for? Malt, man, words are hard right now. I don't know why. Malt negative, like almost like it's like a bleached out, crazy, not much malt character kind of Pilsner malt. It's not the case here. You're getting this nice kind of slightly toasty, kind of crackery thing, which is really, really, really fun. On top of this really meaningful, purposeful, kind of like checky kind of level, kind of bitterness on there. But it's I do get that little lemon characteristic. It adds just such a cool little twist on the beer. Like almost like a lemon twist. Like you spritzed a little lemon in there. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's me perceiving it that way. But it just adds something really fun to a beer style that I really enjoy. And honestly, obviously the seed has, a lot more experience when it comes to these kind of beers. It was brewed and made at Fidens, for them to do the legwork here, to do the heavy lifting, and to have it come out this crisp, have it come out this clean, have it come out this well done. Just kudos to those guys and gals and everybody in between, on making this. Very, very fun collab. Probably one of the better, I was going to say one of the better Italian pills I've had as late, and there are a lot. It's a very trendy style, but it's just one of the better American craft pills I've had. That little tiny, as I perceive it, that little lemony twist thing is just so cool, and just adds this something to it that just makes it more for me in a very fun way. So yeah, I dig this. It's very fun. Really curious what everybody else thinks. My experience with Fidens is pretty limited. I've had a couple of their beers before interviewing Steve, and he gave me a bunch to kind of come home with, and a bulk of what I've had has been hazies from them. That makes sense because that's their kind of big thing, and they're going to move forward with a lot of different things. He was actually quite cryptic in the podcast going, we have a bunch of things that are happening, but I can't tell you about them kind of stuff. And I'm curious to see where it leads because, if this is a precursor to the level, the stuff they make, it's going to be really fun. It's gonna honestly be really, really fun to see what they make, and I'm just glad I got to rip these. This is like my fourth one, I think. I think we drank 2 or 3 in the interview, so this is my 3rd or 4th one. This is fun beer in general, man. Thank you very much, dude, for sending me home with this. Go check them out. Like I said, I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get the podcast up for their anniversary, but it just literally just passed. So these beers should be available. I'll post this tonight, actually. This is Sunday, the 2nd of October, I believe. I'll post this tonight, so that way it gets a little bit of something going on, and look for the podcast coming up this week. And thanks for sending me home for these, dude. And one of the better pills I've had as of late, for sure. Mount Rushmore status. Let's talk about it. Fidens. What's your experience, man? Have you had a bunch of their beers? Have you had a bunch of their different beers? Like, I know the hazies rule the roost there, but have you had, he sent me home with a brown ale coffee, sent me home with a West Coast IPA, you know what I mean? Sent me home with a stout. Might review that tonight also. Won't go up tonight, though. What has your experience been with Fidens as far as, like, have you been to the brewery? Have you had their beers? What are your thoughts? Have you had this beer already? Down there. Let me know. Awesome. Yes. Good beer is good beer. Hopefully you guys enjoyed our review. Hope to see you next time. Cheers, y'all.